Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's 12 o'clock. We are going to get started. I want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to talk for 15, 20 minutes. Then we're going to have some Q&A at the end. I want to thank you all for signing up to learn more about how to plan your retirement. I'm LaLomia. Today, we hope to open your eyes to some things that you may not have considered. We're going to get into some strategies that our clients have found helpful. And we're going to share a checklist that we use that will help you to figure out if you can retire now. I'll have some stories to tell along the way of real life circumstances our firm's been involved in. And while this is not a very sexy or exciting topic, it's an important one, and we're certain you'll learn something new today. A special thanks to anyone here today who's attended our prior workshops. What you're about to hear, it represents the best and brightest thinking from our team, and it's the collective wisdom of over 100 years' experience. Here's a nice picture of the entire team. Turning Point Financial, my firm, we're what's known as an RIA. That stands for Registered Investment Advisor. We're supervised by the SEC. Our home office, we're located in Frederick, Maryland, and we work with federal employees from most agencies across the entire country. We're fiduciaries. That means we're required by law to put your best interests first. We get asked this a lot because it's important. If you're looking for an advisor, this is a good question to ask. And that's because not every advisor out there is a fiduciary or held to the fiduciary standard. Our website, tpfinancial.com. You can learn more about me and the team there. One more thing, I take my responsibility as an advisor serious, and sometimes I come across in a serious and straightforward way. That's because prior to being an advisor, I was a compliance officer. I saw a lot of things that were not done right. My passion often comes across as seriousness. I'll do my best to keep things light and engaging with some good stories that we can all relate to. I'm not so visible on this slide. I'm buried in the back, so you get my headshot. A little housekeeping before we get going. I like to be up front, tell you exactly what's going to happen here today. We have three basic parts to the presentation. First, we hope to open your mind to all the things that are important when planning retirement, including determining if you're ready, and not just financially ready. Second, we'll show how this personally affects you. And as I mentioned earlier, we wrap up with Q&A. You're going to use either the chat box or the Q&A box to ask your questions. You can do that at any time. And as I said, we're going to answer those at the end. We want to help you to understand that there are actions you can take today that can have an impact on your quality of life during retirement. Everyone should be muted, and while my video's on, yours doesn't need to be. Two things that will not happen today. One, I'm not here to sell you anything. And two, I can't provide personal financial advice in a group setting like this. I'll do my best to answer your questions, but because I'm prohibited from providing personal financial advice, your participation today, it entitles you to a free consult with me. And all you need to do that is send me an email and we'll get that scheduled. So let's get into it. We chose this topic for all the reasons listed here on this slide. There are so many unknowns. And if you're not in the business working on this stuff all day, every day, it's nearly impossible to do it yourself and get it all right. Please make sure you're getting good advice and working with someone you trust. People make mistakes, and sometimes those are catastrophic. One of our clients, they weren't properly invested. They suffered a major setback. They had to move. They could no longer afford to live in their dream spot retirement home. In fact, they've now moved twice, still searching, trying to connect with new friends in a new community. And it hasn't been easy. They long for the days when their retirement first began. Everything was seemingly in place. It looked like bliss and life to be lived happily ever after. Their mistake, it was how they were invested, and specifically in their asset allocation. Had they followed the advice of a trusted advisor, they may have avoided 2 moves and 2 new lives, trying to make friends and fit into new communities. Pay attention to the things we have on this slide because they matter. We use age 75 as a standard lifespan when we work with our clients. How long you live, it's important because that's how long your money must last at a minimum. And that doesn't account for your legacy. You need even more money if leaving some to your kids or a charity, if that's important to you. How much you need? It depends on a lot of things, and we're going to get into that. But that's not all that has to be considered. Your finances are just one part of it. Being engaged is key to your longevity. What are you retiring to? I'm going to say that again. What are you retiring to? You want to retire to something, not just from something. This is important, and this is why some people fail retirement. My neighbor had a great career, same company for many decades. Awesome retirement savings, had the pension. His wife is a little bit younger and was going to still be working. Kids are out of the house. He seemed to be set up perfectly. Well, he was and he wasn't. He was financially, he wasn't mentally, and he failed retirement. He spent 6 months at home, not engaged, no serious hobbies or interests, and he wasn't happy. So he went back to work. And while that may sound strange, he's engaged, he's happy, has purpose, and he's fulfilled. Every one of us is different. If you want to live a long life, what are your plans to stay engaged? What are you retiring to? I'm going to start with the last bullet on this slide because it's a continuation of what I was just talking about. The everything I refer to here are the other aspects of our health. And I'm obviously not a doctor, but I've witnessed firsthand how our clients have succeeded and failed at retirement. The other aspects of our health beyond physical health, that's mental health, your spiritual health, emotional health, and your relational health. All these matter and will determine the quality of your life. Open your mind and think beyond the money and consider all these other aspects of your health. Moving along, replacing the paycheck is what we do for our clients, and there's a lot of ways to do it. Most of you are probably familiar with, or you've heard the terminology, the three-legged stool. The 3 legs of the stool are Social Security, pension, and your TSP. And all these are potential sources of income you'll use to replace the paycheck. And there are others. The others might be your spouse or partner. They may have income and continue to work. Perhaps you'll work part-time in retirement. And then some folks have rental properties. So there's rental income. Your pension and the Social Security, those are guaranteed. But it's important that you choose the right pension option and turn Social Security on at the optimal time. That's different for each person. And this is how we add value to our client's financial situation. We figure out what's right for each individual, and getting this piece right, it can be worth tens of thousands of dollars and more. Just last week, I was talking to a federal employee. He's in his 60s, and he planned to turn his Social Security on while he's still working. Plans to work until 70. I had to cut him short because had he done that, it would have cost him nearly $20,000 a year for the next several years in penalties. It's critical to know the ins and outs of taking Social Security while you're still working, if that's something you plan to do. Again, get advice from someone you know and trust that knows what they're doing, please. Now, this fella, he was smart enough to accumulate nearly $4 million, yet he was on the cusp of going down a very expensive road. I hope this helps. I hope this makes sense to you. One more thing here. Your TSP, it's grown to a handsome sum during your working years because you have been a diligent and disciplined accumulator. In retirement, it's time to distribute those assets in the form of income, just like the pension will do, just like Social Security does. We do that for our clients by investing their money in income-producing securities. That's different for each person, and it depends upon your needs, your comfort with risk, and your time horizon. Let me know if you'd like to know more about how this works. All the bullets here on this slide, they're important, as well as staying healthy, engaged, vibrant, and relevant. And by the way, I know we have some folks who just dialed in and they're not able to see the slides. The slides are available upon request. I'm happy to send those to you. We're also recording this event. So if you'd like a copy of that, we're happy to share that too. Reviewing all your sources of income and determining how that replaces your paycheck and fits into your budget, your new retirement budget, that is. If you haven't already done that, it's important to work on a retirement budget. And if you like, I can send you a worksheet that we use. Just shoot me an email. I'll have my address later on in the presentation. Not budgeting, not figuring out that retirement budget, that's the quickest, easiest way to run out of money, no matter how much you have. Remember, you may need to have your income sources and your money last 20, 30, 40 years. That's a long time. I'm going to share our checklist with you in just a minute, and that will help to determine if you can retire now. We've already touched on some of the items here in this slide. Thinking about what you currently have and where you want to get to and how you do that, that's how we help our clients. Our financial planning process is usually how we do it. It's about your goals and figuring out ways to achieve those. We're a team of certified financial planners, CPAs, and investment professionals who coordinate strategies to ensure you live a long and fulfilling life. Here's how you figure the whole thing out and determine if now is your time. First, write out all your assets. Top of the page. What's the value of your TSP? What's the value of your IRA? How much do you have in the bank? What's your home worth? All of your assets, whatever you have, your spouse or partner have. That's on the top half of the sheet. Bottom half of the sheet, let's write out our income sources. If you haven't obtained a Social Security statement, ssa.gov, sign in or register there. Social Security is pretty much done away with the paper. The online platform works pretty well once you get set up. And by the way, once you get set up online, they turn off the paper. So you can see just how much Social Security you'll get when you turn it on. Your pension, get a copy of your pension statement if you haven't already. The numbers are there to help you figure out how much of a pension you'll receive. Those are at least two sources of income, and then consider the others that I mentioned that may pertain to you, whether it's rental income, part-time income, spouse or partner continuing to work, and maybe you have some others. Third, on a separate sheet of paper, you're going to write out your dreams. What's on your bucket list? What do you want to do during retirement? And when do you want to do those things? Some people plan to move. When does that happen? What will you spend on that dream retirement home? Some people want to travel. They want to travel every year. They want big trips every 5 years. They want trips with kids and grandkids. Let's write all those down, the frequency of those and when we want those to occur. And the when is simply a placeholder. We're going to put a year on there. We're going to put every 3 years, whatever your frequency is. Some folks want to pay for their kids' weddings. Put that on your list. Whatever's on your bucket list, let's write out those items. Let's establish some sort of estimated cost, and let's plug in a figure of when those will happen. Our retirement budget. I have the worksheet if you need it. Maybe you have your own already. Keep it simple, keep it high level. Will you have rent or a mortgage during retirement? What do you spend on food? That's groceries. What do you spend on eating out? What do your insurance payments look like? Utilities, all those sorts of things. Let's put that down. Then think about your health and the family health. What's the family longevity? Because that has a lot to do with how long you'll live. Think about your parents and grandparents and how long they've lived, whether or not they're still around. We use age 95, as I mentioned, when we do financial plans for our clients. It's certainly better to be more conservative and estimate on the high side. Nobody wants to run out of money. And then you put it all together. And putting it all together, it takes a little time. It's a good idea to have someone help you with it and check your work. I'm happy to do that with you if you would like. But you're basically doing the math, putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. And if the numbers work, congratulations, you're retiring now. Thank you all for sticking with me, for being here today. As I said, we've recorded the presentation. If you'd like a copy or know someone that would benefit from it, just send me an email and we'll share it. My contact information is here on the slide. We'll be following up by email as well. Also on the slide, we mentioned our financial scorecard. That's 10 or 12 questions online. That'll help you determine whether or not you have all your bases covered and just how good a shape you're in. I'll be emailing that to you probably next week. If anybody wants to schedule a meeting, shoot me an email. We can do that. You want to check us out further, tpfinancial.com. That's our website. I mentioned early on, we're going to answer questions here in just a moment. So go ahead and start queuing those up in the chat box or the Q&A field. But your participation today, it entitles you to a free consult with me, and shoot me an email and we'll get that scheduled. There we can talk about your personal situation, any questions you might have that weren't answered today. As I said, I can only go so far in answering your questions because a lot of times they need more information, more personal information, and we're not going to get into your personal information on a group call like this. So again, thank you for being here. My contact information is on the screen. We're going to look at some questions. We've got a solid 10 minutes or more. Just give me a moment here to get organized. Our first question has to do with Social Security, and I'll just read the question. Due to Congress not taking action, the Social Security Fund will not be fully funded starting in 2033. Is the subtract 25% rule of thumb correct when trying to project Social Security income after 2033? Yeah, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with projecting receipt of 75% of what you're supposed to receive. That's certainly one way to do it. But my personal belief, I don't think there's going to be a discount. This is such a political hot button. Action will be taken by Congress at some point to right the ship, to get this thing in a healthier financial state, to get Social Security in a healthier financial state. There are a number of actions that the government can take to fix it. And those actions include raising the tax that each of us pays into Social Security every month, raising the threshold for high income wage earners. They only pay up to a certain income level, and that income level is raised each year, but they could raise that to a much higher level where there's greater participation and therefore more money flowing into the Social Security Trust Fund. And then third, up the retirement age, change the full retirement age of Social Security from 66 and 67 to some higher number. Those are three simple actions that can be changed, that have all changed in the past, to fix it and make it in a better state. I'm 56 years old. I am completely confident that when I take Social Security, I'm getting the whole thing. That's how I feel about it. So don't get too caught up in the noise, and just pay attention to the actions that can possibly be taken to fix it. That's how I see things. I have a question. What do federal employees need to factor in as far as insurance costs? I think you're referring to and Medicare costs once retired. Okay. Let me talk about insurance broadly. Chances are you may no longer need life insurance when you're retired. That's something that could perhaps be eliminated. Think about why you would continue to need life insurance. That's something I can talk to you about offline, understanding your personal situation a little bit better. You may have auto insurance costs, homeowners or renters insurance, Medicare. So Medicare costs are determined by your income, and that's something we can work through together. There are different thresholds set up with the formula, and the more you make, the more sources of income you have, the greater your Medicare costs can be. So really good question. Definitely something to understand. You can find some information online about that. Certainly what the Medicare tables look like and those costs. But I'm happy to talk to anybody about that further. Folks, if you have a question, just go ahead and put that in our chat box or the Q&A field. And if you prefer, you can email me, Kurt@tpfinancial.com, if you prefer to have your question answered privately. I'm happy to do that there as well. Regarding the TSP, we are required to take distributions at 72 and a half years old. Would it be better to take these distributions in a no tax state? Well, the age is 72. It was recently moved up from 70 and a half to age 72. And that is required of traditional retirement accounts. If you have the Roth, and you should have some Roth balance, or you should be thinking about Roth conversions. That's a way to get money into a Roth account. The Roth never has to be taken out, and some folks use the Roth for estate planning purposes. It can be a nice way to transfer money to your heirs that's tax-free. The tax-free state, certainly looking at the handful of states that exist that tax retirement plans differently, that's something to consider, but don't get too caught up in that, because what's more important than the taxes is your quality of life, your social circle, your level of engagement. I know folks who looked at that and decided against it, and it ended up being a really good decision, because saving $5,000 or $7,000 a year was not worth giving up their social life and their neighborhood and their circle of friends and their lifelong relationships by moving to another place. Let me just clear something up here. So what you're talking about, a no tax state, that's at the state level. You'll always pay federal taxes on the traditional TSP or traditional IRA required minimum distributions, or distributions in general. Can we continue with our current insurance, or do we have to take Medicare? You're going to do both. The federal government health insurance, the lifetime health insurance benefit that you have is just, it's unmatched. And when you choose your pension option, you want to make sure you make the right choice there so that it continues for your life and your family's life. You have three choices. So make sure you're getting good advice around how to do that. And you're going to have Medicare in addition to that. And they complement each other in a very nice way. So plan on taking the Medicare. There's Medicare A, B, C, and beyond. So you want to make sure, again, you're getting advice there on just how much Medicare coverage to take, because you probably don't need it all, because your federal government insurance is going to complement what Medicare offers. What are the advantages of removing money for investment from the TSP versus staying in the TSP? Okay, really good question. You can roll over your money from the TSP to an IRA. The IRA is going to give you more investment choices. You only have the 5 funds in the TSP. You're also going to have more distribution options. You'll have the opportunity to convert some of your traditional TSP balance to a Roth balance. The Roth has a couple advantages. One I just mentioned, which is you never have to take the money out. Roths don't have required minimum distributions, and Roths also come out tax-free. They grow tax-free, they come out tax-free. The catch, when you convert from traditional to Roth, you have to pay the tax. That's where it helps to have a long-term tax strategy and do a little bit of a conversion. The conversion is moving money from traditional to Roth each and every year. With the TSP, you're obviously not going to get professional investment advice. If you have an IRA with somebody like me, and my firm has an investment committee that meets monthly, and clients that are invested with us, they get the collective wisdom of the firm. You're going to get professional advice and guidance along the way. Cost a little bit more, there's no question there. There's nothing cheaper in the world than the TSP, but the value of advice can far exceed the amount of money you would save by leaving it at the TSP. There are 1 or 2 factors when calculating retirement income that employees, I'm sorry, I'm reading this incorrectly. Are there 1 or 2 factors when calculating retirement income that employees tend to overlook? Yeah, there are. Excellent question. We covered this in a pension presentation we did earlier this year. So pay attention to net, gross versus net. You're going to get a gross figure in your pension statement. It'll say you're going to get $2,000 a month, for example. Well, you're not going to get $2,000 a month. There's going to be taxes taken out, federal and state taxes. There's going to be health. Your lifetime federal health insurance premium is taken out of there, and you may have some other deductions. So it's going to be something less than that. I think understanding all your sources of income and what those numbers are. So how much am I actually going to get from my pension when that happens? How much am I going to get from Social Security, and when should I take Social Security? And then how much do I need? What do I need the TSP or any other investment accounts to do for me? How do all those add up and fit into how long I'm going to live and what I want to do during retirement? And that's where the budgeting comes in, excuse me. Can you explain the difference between the FERS annuity and a TSP annuity and how they play into a retirement situation? So the FERS annuity, that's your pension. That's based upon your years of service and your income. It's the average 3 high years of pay, usually your final years. That there's a formula for that, and your HR reps can help you pinpoint that number. The TSP annuity, so Metropolitan Life offers an annuity in exchange for your TSP. You're basically giving them the TSP, and they are buying an annuity with it. And based upon lots of factors, they're going to tell you how much you're going to get each month. I'm not a fan of annuities. Annuities fit for certain people in certain circumstances, but I would explore your other options before you go down that road. One major pitfall with the annuity is you're ceding control. You're going to give your $300,000, $500,000, $800,000 TSP to Metropolitan Life to have them manage and create an income stream for you for the rest of your life. All you get is that income stream. If you have a need or a want and you want a larger chunk of money from that annuity, that can be difficult and expensive to get more out of there versus leaving it in the TSP or rolling it over to somebody like me and putting it in an IRA. If you want $50,000 to give to your kid to help them with their wedding or their first home or college expenses or whatever, you can get that out very easily from an IRA. Hope that helps. I know we're going a little over, folks. We got one more question. If I don't get to your questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I really appreciate the level of engagement with this group. Next question. Can't we get the best of both worlds and keep 50% of the TSP and roll over 50% into an IRA and invest it? If you have $1.5 million and transfer $750 and leave $750, can't you get the best of both worlds? Absolutely. I have a client that did just that. And on the one hand, it drives me crazy because if I have insight into the other half of his TSP and his Roth, his fund money at Schwab, all of that stuff, having little one-offs, and it can create confusion. There can be overlaps. There can be the taking of unnecessary risks. But yes, people do that. That's not a bad idea. There's nothing wrong with the TSP. Somebody can't see my email in the slide, and I'm not sure if I have an easy way to adjust that. I'm sorry. My email address is Kurt, it's K-U-R-T, at tpfinancial.com. And I'm going to put that here for everybody to receive. Kurt at tpfinancial.com. I'm going to put that in the chat. Everybody has that now. Okay. And our website is tpfinancial.com, Turning Point Financial. So folks, this has been terrific. I really appreciate your questions. I appreciate you being here today. If you'd like a copy of the recording, please let me know. And happy to share the slides as well. We will have more presentations through the end of the year. We've got some exciting stuff coming up that include year-end tax strategies. We'll talk about things you can do between now and the end of the year to try to lower your tax bill. For anybody who has a family situation that involves a special needs family member, I'm going to have an expert do a presentation, and someone I know well, and someone who has lived in a special needs family, and he will be sharing with him resources and benefits that are available to special needs families at the local, state, and federal level. And then we'll also be talking about a growing movement called socially responsible investing and morally responsible investing. That's something folks have really taken an interest in, and has to do with aligning your values with how you invest your money. So that's what's coming in the next few months. I look forward to sharing all this with you. And yep, Tracy, I just want to shout out to Tracy for hosting this and working with me and putting it together. It's a privilege and an honor to present to the FCC, and I hope we can keep this going. So with that, I'm going to let you all go, and appreciate your time. If I can be of any help, please reach out, and be safe, stay healthy. Thank you all so much.